Welcome to a brand new week of Breakfast Central, and we thank you very much for starting your week with us. We have so many stories to look at this morning, and very shortly we'll be sharing with you what our top stories are. I am Olive Emodi.
And I am Osarogie Ogbonmwan, welcoming you to another Monday morning here on Breakfast Central, sharing with you some of the biggest stories happening here in Nigeria and in bits and pieces of other parts of the continent. We hope that you're ready for the next 2 hours. Remember that you can join us via the phone lines or via our social media handles at News Central TV. Share your thoughts with us on any of the stories that we, of course, are having conversations about today. We also have Adebola, who's joining us with breakfast headlines. Good morning, Adebola.
Good morning, Osarogie and Olive. Good to be here another Monday morning.
Very interesting. Adebola, are there any stories that piqued your interest over the weekend?
Absolutely. It's got to be the Ondo State APC primary election. 16 candidates jostling for the ticket of APC. The primaries held yesterday, on Saturday rather. And then we've seen different allegations here and there. Some aspirants have described the election as broad day robbery, saying that it was marred by electoral fraud. They were waiting for electoral materials to get to certain words in Ondo State, but were not there. And so people are protesting. They protested actually, saying they want a cancellation of the election, that the result announced was not valid. So we'll see how that pans out. There were allegations that the election results were feud, and that some people got disenfranchised. They were not able to cast their vote, and so the election has to be cancelled.
It's just unfortunate, we're still not there yet with regards our electoral process on every level, federal level, state level. And of course, we're talking about even party primaries, and there are still these, accusations, and these issues. It really just tells that the process itself, with regards any sort of form of election in Nigeria it still has so many loopholes. We've not been able to create a system where the electoral process can really be trusted. And it's almost difficult to bypass it, or to throw in chaos here or there.
Very true.
It's heartbreaking, really.
I think another aspect that looked very worrisome during the elections, apart from the fact that there were speculations of people not getting election materials, is how Governor of Kogi State, Usman Ododo, who was in charge, many raised eyebrows and asked that, doesn't this man have some other issues to sort out in the state? They worried about the ability for him to have been free and fair, especially looking at the role he played in assisting the former governor of Kogi State in escaping the arrest in his state. But I'm sure that these are more unfolding events that we'll look at much later on the show this morning. Adebola, you bring us breakfast headlines shortly, but let's share what our top stories are.
Yes, this morning, internal crisis may mar Labour Party's chances in Edo State.
And away from Edo State, we'll bring you update about the police parading suspects linked to the APC students' death.
Also this morning, Ganduje suspended again by another APC faction in Kano State.
And then we bring updates about Labour listing their demands. They say that they want creation of state police.
And also the newspaper front pages this morning. What are the major stories making headlines across Nigeria?
All these and more on Breakfast Central. Now let's bring breakfast.
Welcome to Breakfast Central, and this is the news. I am Adebola Adeduba. The governor of Ondo State, Lucky Aiyedatiwa, has emerged victorious in the just concluded All Progressives Congress party primary ahead of November 16 governorship polls in the state. Governor Aiyedatiwa polled 48,569 votes to defeat 15 other candidates in the keenly contested election. The primary marred by controversy and tension saw Aiyedatiwa's closest contender, Mayowa Akinfolarin, secure the second position with 15,343 votes. And moving on to another news item. Away from Ondo State, the founder of the new Nigeria People's Party, NNPP, Boniface Anier Bonham, said Rabiu Kwankwaso, former governor of Kano State, is destroying the party. In 2023, NNPP's Board of Trustees suspended Kwankwaso, who was its presidential candidate in the last election, over allegations of anti-party activities. However, another faction of the party loyal to the former governor of Kano reversed the suspension. A chieftain of the All Progressives Congress, Barrister Josetega Onokpasa, has called out the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission against what they call the unjust treatment of former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello. Former Governor Bello has been under scrutiny recently, with allegations swirling around him. However, the APC chieftain on Sunday argued that his rights are being trampled upon. President Bola Tinubu will today open the African Counterterrorism Summit in Abuja. In a statement released by his special advisor on media and publicity, Ajiri Ngalale, President Tinubu will today welcome heads of state, government officials, and representatives from international organizations who will be converging in Abuja for this crucial summit. According to the statement, the objective of the summit is to strengthen cooperation and redefine the global response to terrorism in Africa. Kwara State government has urged residents to stay calm following reports of poisonous meat being sold at the Mandate Market in Ilorin, the state capital. This comes after a group, the Kwara Monitoring Group, raised concerns about the sale of meat from 33 cows that reportedly died from poisoning. Authorities in Kwara, however, responded swiftly, confiscating all suspected meat from the market for laboratory testing with the aim to confirm the allegations and ensure public safety. Hundreds of people protested on Sunday against the U.S. troop presence in military-ruled Niger, where a delegation from Washington is expected within days to arrange an orderly withdrawal. The United States had on Friday agreed to withdraw its more than 1,000 soldiers from the African nation, where Washington built a $100 million base to fly a fleet of drones. The demonstration in the northern desert town of Agadez, home to a U.S. air base, was called by a group of 24 civil society associations that have backed the regime since last year's call. The United Nations Libya mission has urged authorities in the eastern part of the country to investigate the death of an activist who had been in detention since last year. Siraj Dongman died while in custody of Rajma military camp in Rajma town, about 27 kilometers east of Benghazi. The mission said it was deeply saddened and called on authorities to conduct a transparent and independent investigation into his death. South Africa's central bank governor, Lesetja Kgiyangbo, has stated that the country faces upside risks to its inflation outlook. However, the latest data has not shown evidence of price pressures from food, despite adverse El Nino weather wreaking havoc across Africa. Recent inflation data had shown headline inflation fell to 5.3% year-on-year, down from 5.6% in February, and coming a touch below analysts' expectations. And that's all on the breakfast headlines. It's back to Olive and Osage.
Thank you very much, Adebola, for bringing us breakfast headlines. So many stories to look at there. The updates in Kwara State regarding the poisonous meat. I know that it's hard times, but it's really very sad and unfortunate to think about the possibility of cows having died from poisoning, and these same cows being slaughtered and sold to the abattoir. I think that we can be a little kinder to each other. I know that times are hard, things are tough, but at the end of the day, by the time you're selling poisoned meat, imagine the amount of damage that will do. I'm hoping that further investigation is being carried out and that there are no lives that are put at risk, further by the possibility of this poisoned cows being sold or consumed.
No, absolutely, Olive. Recall there was a time we were asked not to eat, that we call it in our local parlance, spomo, and now we're having the case of cow being, poisoned in Ilorin. Like you rightly mentioned, Olive, I'm hoping this is nipped in the bud. Talk about hard times where we have prices of goods and services, skyrocketing, and then to have a case of, where you have poisonous, meat. People are consuming meat that is poisoned. To talk about the price to even purchase those items in the first place is nothing to write home about. I'm hoping the authorities in charge investigate and try to nip this in the bud as soon as possible.
Yeah, well, I mean, it depends on what they mean by investigating. How many cows are we talking? Is it 10 cows, 20 cows, one cow?
I think about 33 cows.
How much meat?
Exactly. It's a lot.
I mean, so it's a lot of work that they will need to do. But of course, the agencies that should be able to handle these things in the state. And a point that Olive made is with regards how we should be kinder to each other. There's perspectives that say that most Nigerians would always find a way to cut corners. it's a way of life that, a lot of us have. How can we, get the best out of giving so little? And it's not because we're not hardworking. And I spoke about this sometime last week about going to the petrol station. Even as expensive as it is to buy petrol now, you still go to petrol stations and they still try to cheat you. And I mean, there's no, part of them that says maybe we shouldn't be doing this. Nigerians are dealing with so much already. That doesn't exist. And so, these are some of the reasons why you would find these things. But Kwara State government, of course, will do what it needs to do. Thank you very much for stopping by and for sharing those stories with us. We'll see you again at 9 a.m.
You're welcome.
All right. Stay with us this morning. We, of course, moving straight into our top stories this morning on Breakfast Central. Yes, we begin in Ondo State, where Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa has obtained the nomination for the upcoming November 16th governorship elections as APC's candidate following the contentious Ondo State primaries that were held on Saturday to determine the eventual flag bearer. With a decisive win in the primaries, Aiyedatiwa collected 48,569 votes to secure the nomination, with 15,343 votes. Mayowa Akinfolari, his nearest opponent, came in second, and Chief Olushola Oke took third place with 14,865 votes.
Of the party in the general election, I, Ahmed Usman Ododo, the executive governor of Kogi State and the chairman of the committee and the returning officer of the Ondo State APC governorship primary election held on the 20th day of April 2024, hereby declare that Lucky Aiyedatiwa, having satisfied the requirement of the law and scored the highest number of lawful votes cast in the direct primary election conducted on the 20th day of April 2024 in Ondo State, is hereby returned elected, and he is declared the winner of the Ondo State APC governorship primary election in this day, 20th day of April.
Now, as seen in that video clip, Governor Ahmed Usman Ododo of Kogi State and the chairman of the governorship primary election committee made that announcement. According to the APC, now that the nomination has been confirmed, Ms. Aiyedatiwa and the party will be concentrating on building support and uniting around their candidate in anticipation of running against rivals in the November elections.
Let me at this time acknowledge and thank all the other aspirants who threw their cards into the ring of this family contest to be the flag bearer of our party. All the aspirants I'm talking about: Honorable Mayowa Akinfolari, Chief Olushola Oke, SAN, Senator Osinowo Ibrahim, CFR, Mr. Wale Akinteriwa, Honorable Apapa Kujimi Otimayo, Mr. Moriah Levy Esquire, Mr. Isaac Kikimeke, Mr. Olusoji Ilawo, Mrs. Wahid Adekoja Fumilayo, Mr. Omuyeye Olamide Felix, Professor Dayo Faduile, Engineer Folakemi Adegoroye, Engineer Ifeoluwa Oyedele.
Gbogbo wọn ló fẹ́ yẹ jílẹ̀.
Our man Niyi Omoniyi joins us live this morning from the Sunshine State. Good morning, Niyi. Talk to us about what the elections or what the primaries looked like.
Thank you for having me, Olive. Good morning, Osarogie. Well, I would like to start by saying that His Excellency Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa probably had a busier night than we all had, because he must be receiving calls from left, right, and center just as the plenary was ongoing. Of course, we have 18 local governments in Ondo State, and 203 wards were the places where the elections were conducted. Now, before this plenary started, we followed the saga of where at some point we didn't even know where they were going to do the collation. Then we later discovered where they were going to do the collation, and finally it started at around 8:40 p.m. yesterday night, and each returning officer from various local governments started reeling out their result. Over 95,000 registered voters participated in the election. And of course, you can see from the plenary, His Excellency polled over 48,000 votes, while the closest to him is Honorable Akin Folari, who polled about 15,000 votes, with a very huge gap of over 30,000 votes. And this has brought out so many questions. But let me be particular about, if we remember earlier, Okitipupa local government was one of the local governments we had. Election didn't happen, and that is why the announcement didn't occur when it was supposed to occur, the collation, I mean. And so they had to reconduct the election at that particular local government. And when they came yesterday, Okitipupa's result was read. However, a federal local government, who nobody even heard anything about, that election didn't hold or held, the returning officer came and gave a whole lot of information that at that particular local government, election didn't hold at all. In fact, he claims that the youths and people residents of the local government barricaded the roads. They didn't allow them entrance into the place. No electoral materials were even given. The police also helped them in pushing out they themselves, the electoral umpires, and they had to leave. That election didn't hold. And also at Ilaje local government, which is a local government of the incumbent, they also claim that Ward 3, one of the wards there, election didn't hold. Now, one would think that, with these places where election didn't hold, will it affect the general result, and maybe it's been declared inconclusive, or the federal local government should have to reconduct their election process? And some of the few people we spoke to on the panel, they help us understand that if the number of registered voters at that particular local government is not enough, is not as big as the gap between the first contender and the second, then it's not significant, and so the result will be read, and of course the winner will be declared. So the plenary session was quite peaceful. I don't think I identified any of the opposition aspirants within the hall. Most of the people within the hall were supporters of His Excellency Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa. Now, there are also claims that, oppositions were not given access to actually come into the hall, although we saw some people outside, but we're inside the hall, and most of the people inside the hall were supporters of Aiyedatiwa. I tried reaching out when the plenary was ongoing. I tried reaching out to other camps of aspirants, because earlier, before the plenary started, there was a protest by one of the camp, a major person, Honorable Chief Olushola Oke, where his supporters trooped out and bombarded the APC secretariat, calling for a cancellation or even a postponement or reconduction of the electoral process across the whole state, saying that the election was not free, was not fair, was not transparent. But of course, we didn't see this reflect in any of the plenary section. The only place where violence was recorded, according to returning officers, was the federal local government. So every other local government didn't have any sort of violence. However, what aligns with the thirds of people in the hall and also outside the hall is that we have over 8, 9, 10 media houses here that I've seen personally who went round different local governments on that particular day. And if the number of registered voters across these places were, according to what the returning officers were given, 7,000, 8,000, in some place 3,000. Most of us did not get to witness, do not have any shots, do not have any video coverage of seeing the electorate at any point on those lines. So it's either we came in a little late or we came in too early and left. Because if about 7,000 people were on the queue, I want to believe the media will have caught wind or at least had a visual of people, electorate on the queue. Now, I'm not saying most of the media didn't have it. What I'm saying is that...
Just to clarify what you're saying, are you saying
yes,
that the figures that have been declared by the APC, what you saw on ground didn't seem to represent, those figures, didn't give you... I mean, the people that you saw on ground didn't look like there was 48,000 people that were voting for Lucky Aiyedatiwa. There's another 15,000, another 14,000, and another 9,000. You didn't see that.
Exactly, Osarogie. We didn't see numbers that really tally with those numbers the returning officer came to share. But of course, we know that we were not everywhere, so we can't ascertain. We can only ascertain for where we were at different times. And most times, the places we even went to, the electoral process had not started at all. So I can confirm to you that, oh, these were the numbers of people here, or these were the numbers of people here, because what the oppositions are claiming is that election didn't even happen in most of these local governments. But the only place that the returning officer claimed that election didn't happen is the federal local government. Every other local government, the returning officers came and gave in numbers. And of course, the APC chair, the committee came out and reviewed out the result. So I'm sure there are still going to be a lot of concerns. I tried reaching out to the opposition camp just to get information and reaction. But this is internal politics. It's within APC. So I can't state anything if they've had words behind the scenes or anything. But no aspirant right now is willing to actually talk. But we know that from what we saw, when we went to the government house after the declaration to get the acceptance speech of the governor, APC delegates were already there, and they had affirmed Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa as the flag bearer of the party. So maybe they've treated this as internal crisis or internal things and will be sorted within themselves. I'm sure before the end of today, we'll get reactions. If the aspirants are going to be speaking at all, we'll get to know if they're comfortable with it, or for the good of the for the greater good and for the for the party, they might just decide to let down shield their weapons, and I wouldn't say weapons, of course, just move on and accept defeat and support the current flag bearer of the party.
Well, according to the leadership newspaper this morning, I'd seen that they had reported how Olushola said that the election was a scam, and a number of people have referred to him. I did see a response from someone saying he's been a sore loser. But from the energy that you feel from the electorate, you've said that there have been concerns as to the numbers tallying, and some people have said that they haven't gotten their ballots, they didn't have the opportunity to vote. But the energy that you're seeing from the conversations you've had off camera, what is the general sense like?
The truth is, if you look at this primary election, it almost looks like it's the gubernatorial election because it's big. The political awareness in Ondo State due to this election has been huge. I mean, massive. The APC, especially the APC members, came out en masse. I mean en masse. They were everywhere. They were ready to exercise their franchise. But of course, everyone had their own candidates. So I would say the energy was pretty high. People wanted to vote. And you can tell from some of the numbers that people had their favorite, because in some local governments, there were higher numbers for some aspirants who will say are not so big, that you think are not so big, that you think are not so big, but when you see the numbers they pulled from that particular local government, then you'll be surprised. So they came out mad. The energy was really high. The people were ready. The people wanted to exercise their franchise. The people wanted to push for their own candidates. But of course, at the end of the day, this is party politics, and that's what we keep hearing on the streets. What is important is the greater good of the party, the greater interest of the party. That's the blanket option we get every time we try to push, just to get an individual to speak out of the group and gets his own view. He goes, oh, at the end of the day, is what the party wants that stands, is how the party is for the greater good of the party. One person must lose, one person must win, and all those things. So, as I would say, I'll leave it to the internal people there, because it's within the APC. The fear, however, is that if APC is the biggest political party here, and within APC, with the number of members they have, over 170,000, they couldn't curtail these and deal with these without having violence, without skirmishes like electoral fraud and so many other things. How does this really reflect looking forward to the gubernatorial election in November 16, noting that this party has a huge following in this state? So people are a little bit worried, but at the end of the day, I would say some people want Governor Aiyedatiwa to continue. Others have their own candidates. But now that it has been declared that Governor Aiyedatiwa is the flag bearer of APC, they will just have no choice than to turn to him. And maybe they can now work as one and face other parties. Because we know that APC is not the only party in Ondo State. We have two strong parties, the APC and the PDP, who is going to be conducting, the party will be conducting its own primaries, which is indirect, by the way, in few days.
All right. Let's also, get to watch, clips from Ondo State over the weekend. There's information that there was a protest at Okitikupa, I believe. So let's quickly share, with our viewers this morning, feed from there, and then we'll have Niyi join us again.
No membership register, no electoral officer, no accreditation. Nothing. When people queue up to vote, people we believe who are loyal to Mr. Governor came there to disrupt whatever they were doing there. Despite the fact that there was no electoral officer, whatever, they were there to pursue people. Somebody that I was assisting in the past threatened me with gun.
The security of this state is at stake right now. Believe me, I'm telling you. These guys want to set the state on fire. Yes. They want a repeat of 1983. You see, if it was in a sane country like where I came from, Ododo by now should be in jail. Yes.
We waited till 4 p.m. in every location. There was no materials at all. Nobody to even show up. They only went ahead to write what did they call it? The result. The results were written in an hotel, and then they have murdered sleep. They cannot even show out. They can't even come out today for anything again.
We are aware that people are ventilating their anger due to the process of the chartered primary that was conducted in Ondo State, and we want to tell our people that the leadership are holding meetings, and we are aware. I want to assure them that what they have done is highly unacceptable to the leadership and members of Osinowo Ibrahim.
Well, obviously, there's a group of people who still see the election as a sham, as it was also described. Niyi, let's bring you back in. One of those people speaking there says Usman Ododo, the Kogi State governor, should be arrested for, of course, the way that the elections were handled. Is there many of these, similar voices that you've heard, who, of course, are completely disgruntled by the way the elections or the primaries were held?
Niyi, are you able to hear us? All right.
All right. Niyi, can you confirm you can hear us?
All right, it doesn't seem like Niyi can hear us. But yeah, we're hoping that we probably can reconnect with Niyi and bring more updates. Yes, we did see in that clip where someone said Governor Ahmed Usman Ododo should be arrested because of how the elections were run. And some of the biases that I may have seen as well would be people who... Okay, yes. Seems we're connected to Niyi back. Niyi, please confirm that you can hear us now. Niyi, are you there with us? Okay.
Still struggling with it. I mean, it's not unusual, that there will be people who will complain. Every election, has, the same thing. Almost every election in Nigeria, no matter how peaceful it is, no matter how, in quote, free and fair it is, there will always be people who would complain and, call for, cancellation and whatnot.
But owing to the fact that he recently just had a case that he's yet to, I mean, there is no case against him because, of course, the immunity clause protects him. But in the interest of morality, where a number of Nigerians frowned at the fact that he helped his predecessor escape arrest, a predecessor who was wanted by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, they came to arrest him. You and your entourage and your security detail prevented that arrest from happening and whisked him away. In the interest of morality, some have asked, shouldn't he have stepped aside and allowed someone else to be able to carry out these functions?
No,
especially seeing as the governor has not yet turned himself in for questioning, nor has he been apprehended.
Yeah, I mean, there are two separate incidents. The Ondo State election
yes, they
primaries.
But the underlying,
very different.
The underlying story or the underlying issue here is the issue of integrity.
Yeah, but it's left for the EFCC to, make a case. If the EFCC itself, that had the person that they're going to arrest taken from them, if they haven't made a case.
No, they can't make a case now because, I mean, he's governor, so they can't bring up a case against him because of immunity.
Exactly.
So some people are asking that, and right now the only thing that could have been used against him is morality, not law, because there's no law you can use against him. So in the interest of morality, shouldn't he have, in good conscience, stepped aside? These are some of the things that we've heard a few people say.
I don't think we're in that type of society. Neither are we in that type of party. The chairman of the APC has videos online that are still available where he was stuffing, foreign currency into his pocket. I mean, he's still the chairman of the APC. I mean, there's almost nobody. Look at what are you even talking about? Look at the panel that we saw earlier. Usman Ododo is sitting, in the middle. On his right, you can see Ovioma Agege. If you remember, what one of the things that made Ovioma Agege very popular was, of course, the attack and assault on the National Assembly where the base was also taken. So, what are we talking about here? There's no. I mean, I feel like those things, are things that we will just ignore because, I mean, we're in Nigeria. Morality, is the least of the concerns of anybody, who is, of course, who's run for office in Nigeria. So those things don't matter. What I would continue to demand, and I feel like everybody should continue to demand, is a much better electoral process that doesn't have some of these complaints and, that, electoral process that people would take part in. And even the loser would say, yes, I lost fair and square. I know that, there was no issues. But we're having elections where people can boldly claim that hundreds or thousands of people didn't take part in the elections, yet results were declared. Where people can boldly claim that, certain groups of people were intimidated and couldn't exercise their franchise to vote. Then, I mean, we can't keep doing that and then convincing ourselves that we are, living in a democracy and, we're having free and fair elections, congratulating the winners. It's a complete shame, that is what we have accepted as normal, and we should continue as Nigerians to demand better with the electoral process, with the caliber of people who also are running for elections, with the caliber of people who show up to, to manage the electoral process and all of that. I mean, these are really, really, it's a bad picture of where we still are.
It is very bad. But another thing too, I mean, I agree with what you said, but to further highlight that, in ensuring that we have fair electoral processes, it's also important that there are systems that punish wrongs when it is done. Because if people know that they can go there, do whatever they like and get away with it, with nobody, and not being answerable to anyone, that the law would not come after them. If you come and have a quote-unquote fraudulent election and no punishment will be carried out, then it will be easier to continue with that. Anyway, we're joined again by our correspondent in the States. We have Niyi Omoniyi joining us again. Niyi, before the disconnection, we had watched a video where we saw that one of the complainants had said that Usman Ododo be arrested and that in a country that is working, he should be behind bars. Is this a sentiment you've heard in any of the corners?
In fact, I've heard bigger than that. One of the protesters says, "How can you bring, in respect to him, the Kogi State governor who assisted a man who has been declared wanted by the EFCC, who assisted him in escaping. How can you bring such a man to come and chair the electoral process of a state like Ondo State? So many questionable things they've said, so many things they've said about Usman Ododo, and as to who he really is and what it takes to, how would I put it, what his character exudes, and his personality and things around him, if those are already questionable and you're bringing such a man to come and chair a committee of a primary process in the state. There are so many things we've heard, sincerely. Some have called for his arrest, some have called that he be questioned, some have called for the president to actually call him to order and ensure that he does the right thing in the state, and so many other things we've heard. But as I'll put it, he's just the chair. There's a 7-man committee. So I'm not to speak to my own opinion, but what is believed would be that this is the consensus. Whatever decision is being made is the consensus of the committee members, and he's just there to probably reel out what they've agreed. That's how it should work. But of course, as I said earlier, this is internal politics. We don't know how this things pan out. But one thing is sure, they've come to say, oh, this is the person they want as a flag bearer of their party. And it goes on.
All right. Niyi Omoniyi, thank you very much for bringing us updates. Please do stay safe, and we hope you can come back soon enough when all of this is done and have rest, because I'm sure that you are as awake as Usman Ododo and Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa have been. Thank you for your time with us.
Yes, I'm as awake. Thank you for having me, Olive. Thank you, Osarogie.
All right.
All right, then. We move away from there to bring updates regarding the murder of a student in Abia State University, Uturu. Now, the Abia State Police Command on Sunday paraded the principal suspect in the murder of the student in Abia State University, Uturu, some weeks back. The police also paraded some other crime suspects arrested for various offenses across the state. News Central's Chiwilgele reports.
From January to date, a total of 108 criminal suspects arrested by the Abia State Command, majorly made up of young people, is enough to prick the mind of every patriotic citizen. Abia State Police Command has in the last 4 months been inundated with unprecedented number of murder cases, among others. Only in the last 1 month, there have been about 4 homicide cases with people in their 20s neck deep in all. While the command is still investigating the recent cases, it has concluded investigations on the murder of one student of Abia State University, Uturu, by a fellow student and ready to prosecute the suspect.
The suspect, identified as Emmanuel Victor, has confessed to the crime. He is currently in lawful custody and will be charged to court. This is the highlight of our briefing today.
The suspect, on his part, wants to be given a second chance at life.
The member of another course group that came to take a phone from us. So after we finished talking and we told them that they should come later in the day to take the phone, one of Emmanuel's members brought out his gun and shoot at us. So he escalated. Then I shot Emmanuel.
The Commissioner of Police, Kenechukwu Onwemele, also assured the public of the command's commitment to seeing that nothing is hidden about the officer who shot an Aba businessman, resulting to his death.
But I want to assure the public that the police under the current IG and this command will not cover or shield anybody that has done something that is unprofessional, no matter how little, let alone if it results in somebody's death.
Police Public Relations Officer Maureen Chinaka told journalists that the command had so many breakthroughs and recovered exhibits within the period under review.
In the recent past, the command has achieved significant milestones in curtailing incidents of armed robbery, kidnapping, and vandalism of government property, child trafficking, rape, and arson. During the period, several suspects were arrested and various exhibits recovered.
Families will need to play a lot of roles to set their children straight and make sure that they turn out good citizens of the country. In News Central, Chinwe Ugele.
Thank you very much, Chinwe, for that update. It's a reality, an unfortunate reality that we have in our hands to see that there are a number of these cases. I was reading up about some cult clashes as well in the universities that have seemed to become a norm these days, where a number of young people, rival cult clashes leads to them being stabbed in public or being killed. And, you know, it just gives us cause for concern to worry about what's really the foundation. Like Chinwe did say, the foundation of every young person is from the family, and what the family unit, you know, the role that the family unit might have to play, but more importantly, the role that the society has to play in ensuring that we're able to not just uphold them to the right moral standards, but where there has been crime, ensure that the right punishment is meted out, investigation is carried out, and prevention of the repetition of such crime is set in place. Now let's move away from there to, okay, you want to say something? Go ahead.
I mean, I wanted to, I agree with you, you know, the role society should play, the role family should play and all of that, but, you know, I feel like there's too much information out there, even for an 11-year-old, that should, even if you're an 11-year-old, you know, orphan, there's too much information out there for you to still blame lack of family control and lack of society's guidance for you to make, you know, that kind of choice. And whatever happens to you when you get in that space, serve it 100%. And I feel no pity or no, you know, I feel absolutely nothing when I see cases like this, you know, and, you know, whatever the justice system decides in your case, please enjoy it to the fullest of the law.
Maybe I can agree with you in that regard when they're much older. When they're much younger, they're young, they're impressionable, and the formative years of the children are very important. From the early years, some of them without that stability to enable them thrive in a very balanced home, they're then influenced by wrong choices. So some of them are a function of the society they were born into. Some of them are, you know, a function of the families they were born into. But then again, there are actions and there are consequences.
Again, I agree. Society, family, all of that, I agree. But again, there's still too much information out there today that should be able to guide every, you know, person. If you eventually still decide that that is the path that you want to take, and of course, you know, it has, because I see it on social media every now and then, where people still try to romanticize the idea of cultism and say, oh, it's brotherhood. You know, it's a union of brothers, you know, where, you know, that support each other in life.
You don't have brother in your house.
No.
You don't have brothers in your village.
So, you know, I feel, I'm just saying, I feel absolutely no remorse, you know, when I say a case like this. If you have, you know, been a part of a cult that has led to the death of a person, I hope that the law takes its full course, you know, upon you and, you know, every other person involved. Good luck to all of them.
Let's move away from that conversation to Edo State. The Edo Police Command has formally invited the governorship candidate of the Labour Party in the 21st September governorship election in the state, Olumide Akpata, over alleged security breaches involving shootings at the University of Benin, Ogbonmwan campus last Friday. On Tuesday, April 16, 2024, Akpata received an invitation from investigators in the political desk section of the State Criminal Investigation Department, CID, at the command headquarters, Benin.
Now, this was part of the police command's investigation into the crisis after Olumide Akpata attended the investiture ceremony at the Uniben Staff Club, which escalated into violence. In the meantime, Mr. Kelly Ogbaloy, the Labour Party state chairman, has attested to having received a police invitation on the matter. He clarified, however, that the incident was not related to the party and was instead considered Akpata's private matter. Joining us to discuss this is Abayomi Arabambi, the spokesperson at Apapa group of the Labour Party, the National Publicity Secretary of the Labour Party. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good morning, and thank you for having me.
All right. Kindly just share, you know, with us, you know, what exactly happened at the Uniben Staff Club. I did see the video that was posted by Olumide Akpata where he said, you know, that those who are threatened by his emergence, you know, in the political scene in Edo State, you know, maybe sponsored thugs. There's others that say, oh, you know, as Uniben students that were not happy with the gathering and or whatnot. But to the best of your knowledge, what happened that day?
The point is, hello?
We can hear you, please go ahead.
Yeah, the point remains that Apata has been a man who has all manner of the issues moving around him. Even since after his emergence as the candidate, unlawful candidate of Labour Party in Edo State, because his primary was done when there was a pending restraining order against Abure. And as far as we are concerned, we have probably challenged that in court to make sure it was removed, for the two, for our candidate, that's in Asemota. Although Nigeria will also know that there was a woman who happened to be, his candidate, but there was scheming, there were issues around the certificate. And, unilaterally, because I know Abure is in US now, for this man known to Olumide Akpata, and even being a lawyer, he decided to do illegal substitution, and decided that.
It would seem that we're having some network challenges with Mr. Arabambi. Okay, right. Please go ahead.
He decided to put another man there, on his own illegally again. Number 4, even Kenneth Imaswebo, the man that came second, has also dragged him to court, challenging him on the propriety of, being, not being lawful to contest as at that time. Though I've not seen, the full detail, but I am aware, about that suit. Now, Apata is a man, who to me, ordinarily brought a lot of issues to the Labour Party because, of the kind of person he is. He's a lawyer who was supposed to at least, maintain some level of decorum in everything he will get himself engaged in. He went to Uniben, and information said, the student there, everybody knows, the student there were not briefed. But at the end of the day, probably, when you are in a place, the owner of the place might definitely come, and meet you that, Oga, you don't even bother to inform us yet, you don't come to our school like that. But he's a man that has high temperament. Akpata is not somebody that you think, if you just want to talk to him, he might just decide to flee out for you. Because
hold on, Mr. Arabambi.
Yes.
Let's get this clear. What you're saying now is that when anybody goes to Uniben Staff Club with, professors and lecturers and whatnot, they need to take permission from students first.
There is no way students will not come. All of us attend the university. Don't let us hide behind our fingers. We should not hide behind our fingers. The SUG will definitely, come. But,
the SUG would come as what exactly? Because I also went to Uniben. I'm from Edo State.
Yes.
I grew up on campus. So
Yes.
so that is my foundation. So when you say the SUG would also come, what are you saying? That the SUG will show up to any gathering that happens on campus?
Yeah, well, they would definitely make an inquiry, about what you are doing there. The onus now is on you, to take them as your brother. I hope you are getting me. Just like, he's a politician like us, you don't go to an area except we are deceiving ourselves probably because we're on national television. The boys will come and meet you. Oh, Baba, we are here. No musician will visit any place.
You're talking now about students. Are you talking now about students who are on Uniben's campus to get a degree, or you're talking about thugs on the roadside? What are you referring to here?
I am only making illustration. I said the SUG. My dear brother, you want me to say something that are not part of this interview. How do you go to university and you want to tell me the student union will not come there? Abba, we should not, we should not be like a proverbial ostrich who will bury his head in the sand as well as the rest of the body. What I am saying is that the man has a temperament. When people come, be polite, to them. Not that you tell them, what the hell are you people doing? I didn't come to meet students, I came to meet professors and that. No. Yoruba will say, the way I manner somebody who asks you a question and your response will determine, the next line of action.
So I want to ask a question.
Sure.
So are you excusing the fact that there was an interruption that led to someone getting hurt? Is that what Are you excusing
where I am going is that for him to, to pin that, or no, it is PDP, it is, people you contest the election with and that squabble was solely between him and the student. That is all. But, he was not able to manage that situation. It is not about the PDP or about, those he participated, in that primary week. Those ones that have gone to court already. And even those of us that are now challenging his legal primary, we also a court in Abuja. So it shouldn't be a question of if you are unable to do something correctly, don't put it at the doorstep, of others. Like I said, and I'll continue to maintain, Olumide Akpata has high temperament. That's a fact. He's a member of our party. He has high temperament. He has a very high temperament. So sometimes, he might not just be able to handle issues. Like I said, so when you are doing something and the SCG, the SCG just approach you, but man, are you aware?
Mr. Arabambi, permit me to interject. So what you are saying is that Olumide Akpata, if I hear you correctly, what you are saying is that Olumide Akpata has, in your words, high temperament, and he hasn't done things correctly, and as a result of him going to have a conversation in Uniben, this SUG came to interrupt, and he must have responded to them rudely, which then led to the attack.
He also went there with some boys now. You didn't know Olumide Akpata. You knew what
do
he
you
did
know
to
this?
Aburi.
Do you know all of this because you were there or by what you were told?
I have just, alluded to something that has happened in the Labour Party, even before the primary.
No. We're talking about this Uniben incidents because you're talking about he went there with some boys, and I'm assuming that by some boys you mean thugs. Is that
before
he
went to Uniben, I have a video where he was telling people, Olumide Akpata don't come. Anybody will say Olumide Akpata don't run, tell them, say I did. It's force for force, it's fire for fire. We have the video before he proceeded to that place. Are you telling me he only went there with his wife? No, the answer is capital no. Let's get that part right. When we want to try, to renormalize our political system, then we should learn to be very, very faithful to Nigerians. There is no way a government candidate will go to a place without going there with some of the party members who might not be happy with the people, that wanted to see him. Let's get that first straight. And that could, that could precipitate any scuffle. I just said that now. I just said something now. If one or any musician, you go to anywhere to play, let me just be very frank, that is for boys. You will go with their money. If you don't go with their money, they will disturb you. But I knew he went with some people because he attended a meeting when he said he's going to Uniben. Now, those people must have followed him. If they now say, oh, we want to see the governorship and they want to see your guy, they might say, no, that guy, he doesn't have time for you. And in that process, issue will start. But for him to now place it at the doorstep of the PDP or those that contested with him that were not happy images, we are not happy images. We are in court. What is our business? With what he's doing there, because we know we'll still get him removed from the federal court. Because
Ms. Arabambi, can you hear us? Can you confirm you can hear us?
That was when, Abura was under the same order. That was when he was peak. So he cannot just lay, everything at the footstep of the people that contested with him or those that were not happy, that he won. But what I'm only saying is that he didn't went there alone. He must have been with some people that those students met, outside, and in the course of discussion, it should might be aggravated.
Again, these things that you're saying, you are speculating. You're not sure exactly of what happened because you're saying he must have done this, he must have gone with some people, and you're creating a scenario that you assume existed. I'm asking, all of this that you're saying about what happened, do you know for a fact that this is exactly how the situation went out of hand because you were there, or do you know because you were informed by a reliable source, or do you know because you're making an assumption?
People told us now, we have people there. People told us, but all we are saying is this, there are certain things that when somebody, when you do something, people might say, oh, this person might not be able to, or this person might be able to. I have just, given you the background of the kind of person Akpata was. You need the way he even fought Abure, to start see, he wrote a petition to the INEC that, oh, this thing is not going to come easy, and there was no primary, there was no, delegate primary, over how many pages letter that he wrote to INEC. I am also telling you that, this was a man in the course of going to Uniben. There was a video on a Labour Party loop where he was, making allusion to the fact that he's going to Benin, University of Benin, and that people said they are running away. That Olumide Akpata go tell them, say your guy is back. In such a manner, tell them your guy is back. Tell them your guy is back.
But what does this have to do with Uniben students?
Before he was going to Uniben, I said he was in a meeting where the video was posted, and he was boasting that wherever they say Olumide, your guy, he was speaking to them in Pidgin. Yeah, your guy has come. Tell them we are ready for them. If they come,
but what is wrong with that? Because that's seemingly his campaign slogan. You don't say you are bad. If anybody comes to you in 2, you are meeting the person in 4. No, that is not how a politician is supposed to behave. That's not how a politician is supposed to behave. You need to know where you. I also want to ask. I'm sorry, Mr. Because I think we've spent so much time. We need to wrap this up in a bit. I also want to ask if you condemn the actions of those students, whoever they are, because these are University of Benin students. They are not thugs. They are not criminals. They are meant to be there to study one course or the other on campus, and after their 5 or 4 year term, leave campus. That's why they're there. They're not there to be settled by any politician. They're not there to receive guests or whoever it is that is coming to Uniben Staff Club to have issues. That's not why they're there. They are not thugs, except we are saying that these are thugs. That when you come to their area, you have to settle them. Except that's what we're saying. So I'm asking you, do you condemn the actions of those people who caused the chaos in that situation?
Why I will condemn their action? I am also going to condemn the action of the man at the center. But I thank God that you just discussed the issue of courtesy in school. But I think we must try, to be very, very faithful with ourselves as Nigerians if really we want our country to be better. You want to tell me? You want to tell me in your school is only pastor imam that you have a student in that place? It's only Uniben where all your students are pastor and imam. Come on, let's take the part.
If we're being realistic, there's almost no school that doesn't have elements, like this. All of them have it. But do you accept it as, because this is what I'm asking you, do you accept this as these are the caliber of people that are in the SUG, that these are the kind of things that you expect to have around you as a university?
I am not saying that should be the caliber of people in the SUG.
But that's what you are alluding to somehow.
No.
There are cultists everywhere, so you expect. And of course, you basically gave the picture you painted initially was that when you are coming to visit, you are coming to an area, you have to settle people there. And we're forgetting that these are students.
Not settle. I said the students came there.
Yes, to find.
If students, for example, if you go to University of Lagos, and student, came around to say, "Oh, we want to see your guy." It is important.
To see your guy for what?
All right.
That's what I'm asking you. To see your guy for what exactly? Help us understand this.
No, the police are investigating. But if anybody comes to say they want to see your guy, so if any of your people now slap them, they are Jesus Christ, who will not take the left eye to them to slap?
Well, we don't, like I said earlier, we don't know for sure exactly what happened because, first of all, you weren't there. You're only reporting based on what you were informed. Mr. Olumide Akpata has debunked every rumor or every speculation of those who said that there was an attack from his camp.
That is where I'm going. He moves around with thugs.
He moves around. Do you know for sure that he went to this event with thugs?
He will go and explain himself, but what happened? Was it the one that had that issue with the student? The storyline is this: he came out. That means there are some people that he was describing that were outside before he came out. But do you know what happened? The police are investigating. But all I am saying is that Akpata is not a man, that gives to peace at all times. He's a man that has a temperament, and that is a fact. He's a member.
Well, Mr. Arabambi, we all have different temperaments. I don't think Olumide having a temperament is such a bad thing. We all have different temperaments, right?
Well, you are defending him now. Maybe
I'm not defending him. I'm just responding to what you said. You said temperament. Some people have the choleric temperament. Some people are phlegmatic. We all have different temperaments. I want to imagine that you mean that he has a temper. Just to clarify, is that what you're saying, that he has a temper?
The man is, let me say, hot-tempered, not even
okay, all right. All right, Mr. Arabambi, like you mentioned earlier, the police is looking into this case and we will come back with further details and we hope to have you back again. But like my colleague did say, we must remember that these are students we're talking about. So students do not have the final say in determining who comes to see their boss or not. We hope that further investigation is being carried out and we look forward to having you again. Thank you for your time with us.
Yeah, thank you and good morning.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. We have more conversations to look at in the second hour, and when we come back from this break, we'll be reviewing our newspapers. Stay with us.
And now let's get you into the newspapers this morning. Share with you the major stories making headlines across Nigeria this Monday morning. We're joined this morning by Dotun Ojon, who's a public affairs analyst. Good morning. Thanks for joining us, sir.
Good morning. Good morning to you.
All right. Yeah. Let's kick off with this Nigeria newspapers and see what we can find. Big story on your screen says, inflation, how federal government's actions fuel high cost of goods. Experts, traders, consumers identify erratic border closures, insecurity of farmers, extortion by security agents at checkpoints as major causes. Will address anti-competitive practices by cartels that restrict supply, says the FCCPC. All right. Abducted ROCCG pastor in Oyo regains freedom as police investigate kidnap of 14 others. Almost 50% of Nigeria's fresh agricultural produce lost at post-harvest stage, says USAID, which is very true and very heartbreaking. Don't accept luggage without knowing its content, NDLEA warns travelers. And also, 6 soldiers killed in fresh ambush in Niger State as troops eliminate bandits. Congratulations once again to Tunde Onokoya. Let's get you to start with the two stories. The 50% of Nigeria's fresh agricultural produce lost at post-harvest stage. You know, obviously we have a problem with agricultural infrastructure in Nigeria, and also the federal government's actions fueling high cost of goods.
I was actually on the expressway yesterday and I saw a heap of plantain.
Yep.
And I was thinking to myself that at the end of the day, this may not make it alive, quote unquote, to Lagos because some of them are getting decayed and all of that. And this is the major challenge that farmers face in Nigeria. There's usually a disconnect between the farmer and the market.
Yep.
And that means that a farmer has done all he has to do to get some of this produce out, but getting it to the market and ultimately to the consumer is always very, very difficult. And in the process, you just see that those who do not have idea about agric hijack, they stand as middlemen. I don't know whether you have experience in farming, but these people go through a lot to get some of this produce planted and harvested. And somebody comes to the community, mop up everything, takes it to Lagos, makes a lot of money, and the farmers are in abject poverty. But in the process, because of the bad road, because of our inefficient transport system and all of that, you just discover that this don't get to the market. And those who can take it to the market too, there's a restriction, they call it union restriction. For instance, now, from a village, I cannot just pack oil or yam and bring to Lagos to sell. No, I have to either belong to one association or the other. And in the process of doing all of this, you discover that majority of these produce that we talk about don't really don't make it. And it's really, really sad. It's sad.
So obviously, you know, there has to be, you know, better policies with regards, you know, I mean, first of all, like, agricultural infrastructure needs to be better.
Yeah.
And then better policies
for
farmers.
One of the major policies that we can talk about is what was practiced in the Southwest. They call it in the Southwest then cocoa producing board or something.
Yeah.
So their job basically, if we can have an agri-producing produce board, their job majorly will be to move from one community to the other to comb the communities and get agri-produce and store it. Because the major challenge we have is with storage. There's no electricity to store they don't have the facility. So if government is going to intervene, it means not just building road. When you talk about the infrastructure, we're also talking about having the capacity to be able to store some of this produce. And at the end of the day, what that will do is that it will also give government the opportunity to control price. So we'll be talking, if government can actually collect, store, and resell, then you have the control of price. But with this grammar we are speaking, anybody can just decide to say a keg of oil is 25,000. You don't have anything to do because you do not have how to control, you do not know how to control it. Yeah.
All right, just a reminder of yours this morning, the phones are available. You could join the conversation if you're a farmer and you've also had these same struggles. Share with us, what you've been dealing with. Also, the federal government's actions fueling high cost of goods. We're talking about inflation hitting 40%, food inflation rather hitting 40%.
Yes. It somehow ties together. Government is a bit helpless in this situation because of the complexity of the Nigerian state and the greed level of the Nigerian people. Yeah. The complexity in the sense that you cannot control the price of what you do not produce. I've said it here before that one of the problems we had was I don't know, I can't remember who popularized that philosophical thought that government does not have business in business, you understand? And at the end of the day, you're looking at it, how then do you want to control price? You understand the thinking pattern of your people. Then the only way, how is government controlling petrol price today? It's because they have a stake in it. If you do not have a stake in something, you cannot control it. For example, I have cited this example repeatedly. If you go to UAE, one of the major investments they made is into their tourism. They have control over it, and that's why people flood it. One of the reasons why the transport system in the UK is a bit better than that of the US is because government put eye into it. Now they are putting eye into housing. Government cannot control the prices of houses in Lagos today because they don't have investment in housing. All those low costs that you are seeing. I have gone to about 2-3 estates. A Lagos home, it's almost a scam because ordinary people on the street cannot have access to it. Before you know it, they open one in a place called Igbogbo. They open it today, I got there the next day. It's been sold out. To who? So all of these things, when government just makes policy, I just laugh because you cannot control the behavior of your people if you do not have investment in that particular sector.
Right. All right, now let's move to our next paper, the Vanguard newspaper. On the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, top manufacturers list woes, incur 266 billion naira losses in 1 year. And we also have at the top of the paper, Ondo gubernatorial elections or primaries. Protests as 4 APC aspirants call for primary cancellation. Okwamaewu identifies 11 persons killed by military and 413 houses destroyed. Wow. DIA versus Olatunji, NPAN, NGE, NPO, BON, CSOs, others refer dispute to Ombudsman. Going further, we see PDP, why Wike was allowed into National Caucus meeting, Senate Minority Leader explains. Nigeria set to receive fresh $2.2 billion World Bank loan, according to Wale Edun. Intrigues as new Ganduje Ward Exco emerges, suspends national chairman. Super Eagles match, okay, this is not very clear here. Nigerians will not wait in vain. Yeah, that's a bit blurred. Edo Guber, Akoko Edo PDP stakeholders meet, plot victory for Ighodalo. Let's start with the top of the paper. Protests at 4 APC aspirants call for primary cancellation. We've seen how Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa has been declared the winner of the APC primaries. Yes. A number of the aspirants have shown their displeasure, shared their displeasure. Some of the electorates have protested, saying that we're not given the right to vote. But I want to find out what your thoughts are regarding the election itself and your thoughts regarding Usman Ododo being the one in charge. So
I witnessed the primary election. So I was there on Saturday. I moved around the state to actually have an idea of how the thing would go. Because you cannot say anything that concerns APC concerns you directly, because APC produce the government in power. So on that premise, I said, okay, let's see how things will go. And also drawing strength from what happened in Edo State, I just wanted to know whether things would be better. It was, I don't know how to describe it. It was bad, extremely bad. So what I discovered is that there were some places, I made sure I went to about 4 local governments. There were some places where election actually held. And there were places where election did not hold. So when I got home, I was trying to draw a table to know exactly what happened. So there's one man called Wale Akinterewa. He's from Ilolujo-Kegbo local government. Because it's one of the major contenders, I decided to visit his local government. Election did not hold there. So in Okitipupa, Niyi Ibrahim is from Okitipupa local government. It was a disaster. So I think the state.
When you say elections didn't hold, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Does it mean INEC staff didn't get there?
They didn't get there. Oh. There was no election material. Okay. At least I was there live. So what I discovered is that it would be exceedingly difficult in Nigeria, if not practically impossible, for you to actually outsmart the man in power, except you are more powerful, just as what we had in Lagos between Ambode and at the time it was the 9th primary. Yeah. So what happened is that there were a lot of power plays that happened. And in fairness, if any one of them had been the governor, they would have done the same thing, if not worse. Because you will not, as a sitting governor, I think the idea in Nigeria is that you will not watch anybody defeat you in the primary election of your party. And when they announced Odudu as the chairman, I just felt that APC was not actually, I just want to be careful about the kind of word I use on the party. I think they didn't think it through, because now your party is formed the government at the center. The government at the center released a press statement condemning this man, and just about 2-3 days later, you came to appoint the same man as the chairman. There's a bit of discredit that the announcement even brought on the primary election in the first place. And all the things that played out, you can't continue to fight for politicians, because I say it again that if any of these people that are complaining today happens to be the governor, they will do this exact same thing that they are complaining about, if not worse.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's quickly talk about Wike, the caucus meeting. Senate minority leader has talked about why he was let into the PDP caucus meeting. And, you know, part of the reason he's given is that Wike has not been found guilty of any crime, and that if Bukola Saraki says, who is supposed to be, you know, the leader, can do, if he says that a crime has been committed, then he would not be allowed. So what is it about Nyesom Wike that makes him seem so strong and also powerful, even when some people say that his actions have constituted anti-party behavior?
Wike actually owns the party, and I don't want to miss word about it. If you understand how politics works based on finance. And that's why you see we have about 19 political parties in Nigeria today. You see many of them struggling, not because they don't have membership. It's simply because of the fact that no party can survive without funds. And Wike was there for the party when every other person was seemingly absent. So in the process of spending, you know, there's something giving does. Giving buys loyalty. In the process of spending, he has bought some loyalties within the party. And they know that if I telling Wike to go today, it's as simple as actually plugging a hole into the boat of the party. Because they want to try and unite. Whether that one is possible is another discussion entirely. So he's so powerful because he funded the party. He has come out to say that he has remained in the party. Most of these people you mentioned today that are part of the party have been in and out of the party at one point or the other. Do you want to talk about their presidential candidate in the 2023 general election? He was out of the party. Do you want to talk about former Senate President Bukola Saraki? He's been out of the party. But Wike has been consistent in staying with the party. Whether he worked against the interest of the party is another thing entirely. So a man like that, you need to be very, very careful. You know, there's one adage, a mosquito biting somewhere. So you have to kill the mosquito with utmost care. So that's exactly what we have at this moment. I doubt whether there's anything that can be done presently as we speak. Why are you laughing?
All right, let's go to the punch. Oh, key mosquitoes this morning. The Punch newspaper says, MFLS social programs, banks withhold 530 billion naira CBN funds. Cardoso may order refund. Also says, because we're trying to rush through, federal government rolls out 2,700 CNG buses, tricycles on the 18th of May. Finally, Nigerians are celebrating. Kwara shuts abattoir to probe poisonous meat allegation. Motorists, residents stranded as floods overrun Lagos and Ogun roads. Outrage over discrimination against Nigerians at Abuja Chinese supermarket. And also federal government probes $500 million local content loans and projects. Army vows revenge after terrorists kill 6 soldiers. We can also find equity market suffers 1.6 trillion naira loss in 1 week. These are the stories on the Punch newspapers. We'll probably just have you speak on the very sad, situation there with the Nigerian army losing 6 of their soldiers in Niger State in the fight against insurgency, which unfortunately we still don't have not been able to completely rid the country of.
Yeah. The fight against terror is not a fight of deadline. So you don't set deadline and say, I want to win within 3 months. But that's what we've done over the years, and that's why it's coming back to us as if we are not doing anything. It is fight of consistency. And you cannot get that kind of fight except you have men who believe in your nation, who believe in the country. And the best way to create men or to raise men who believe in their country is for us to have good governance. Good governance seems to be the answer to majority of our questions in the country. So patriotism is not given, it is bought. And how do you buy patriotism? You buy it by standing with your people, by telling them that you have the capacity to represent their interests. And I think this government needs to continue to lay emphasis on the need for the people to love their country. And the best way to do that is for you to come out, because we lay emphasis on performance, and we're not talking about perception. We can say, oh, we want to build bridge from here to Edo State. How do your people perceive your government? Working on the perception. In fact, there's one thing, a lot of people say Nigeria is very corrupt. It is a product, it is not a product of corruption itself. It's a product of perception. And how do you create perception? A government says, oh, I am working to stop corruption, and somebody is driving on the street of Lagos and police is stopping such person to collect money. It's a subject of perception. So Nigerian government must come across as a government that is working for the people. When your people see you as being serious, as being sincere, then they give patriotism. And
patriotic to a country that works. I mean, one of the reasons, one of the reasons that people would always argue with, for example, where people see soldiers in the United States, and they stand up and give them their seats, and honor them. Thank you for your service and all of that is, because of the, like you said, perception that they have over these soldiers, and also because soldiers are not setting up checkpoints across U.S. and brutalizing citizens here and there. It is also because you can tell that the system somehow works for you, and so you can say, okay, for this country I'm willing to die because it works. The
workability,
not the same thing.
Yeah, the workability of any system is also heavily dependent on perception. But again, military men don't leave their barrack on their own accord and come to block your way.
Yeah.
It still boils down on the kind of governance or the kind of government that we do have. So, and that's why I say that we must be deliberate. You cannot wish people who die in pain that they should rest in peace. No, they must have a reason why they die. I once cited an example here that I was involved in a process where somebody died. If a constable dies in my community, his file will need to get to the IG stable in Abuja for approval for his pension or something, his entitlements to be paid. Yeah. You cannot continue to run a system like this, and we send our people to die daily. And that is why you see that for a muscle or for a seed, a soldier, for example, can sell off his friend because maybe he belongs to one set and they give him some amount of money. It's because he doesn't trust in the system. And everybody is looking for a way to secure their future. Yeah. If somebody holds a pen, for instance, and uses the pen to steal government money in the name of securing his future, what will a man holding a gun use to secure his own future? That is why government has to do everything possible to ensure that when you create a better future for me, if I'm certain that my future is glorious and I put in service into this thing, I will be relaxed. I will not want to be a sellout. Yeah. So these are some of the complications, and it's so sad. It's just so sad.
Even with things like, paying tax. a number of people would argue with you that if they could see what the tax is doing, it will make it easier. Everybody says, oh, the UK, they are taxing, but they're seeing their system working for them, right? But it's a totally different case here.
Naturally, you know, everybody, you can feel when your country loves you and when your country doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of Nigerians feel like Nigeria loves them.
And that's why I lay emphasis on the believability question. Once you believe in your country, then all of these things, some of the solutions that we actually seek is in government working. All of this clamor of even this power change, we're talking about PDP, let power return to the south, let power return to the north. No, the cure from all of this is good governance. If somebody comes, makes your nation work, you don't care whether it's an honorable man.
And at the end of the day, even with our presidents and all the presidential aspirants, if we had a president that came in, for example, and fixed power, the problem of power, he will not need to do a campaign for second term. Nigerians will vote him. But I mean, these are ongoing conversations. Dr. Nojo, it's always a delight to have you. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. We're going to break. When we return from the break, we have more stories to look at in the second hour.
Welcome once again. Another section of the All Progressives Congress APC in Ganduje Ward, Dawakin Tofa local government area, Kano State, has once again slapped Dr. Abdullahi Ganduje with a suspension of alleged anti-party activities. Speaking on behalf of 11 other executive members, the faction secretary, Jafar Ganduje, claimed that the faction represents the legitimate leadership of the Ganduje Ward rather than held the APC national chairman accountable for the words plurality, I beg your pardon, of factions.
The suspension comes days after a faction of the ward had suspended Ganduje over corruption allegations. However, stakeholders of the All Progressives Congress and the North Central has backed the suspension of the embattled national chairman of the party and demanded that the seat that Abdullahi Adamu previously occupied be returned to their zone, while adding that the alleged imposition of Ganduje on the party was insensitive and a clear violation of the zoning process in the party. Joining us in this developing story is Dr. Osinowo Ibrahim, member of the APC Presidential Campaign Council 2014, 2018, and 2022. Good morning, Mr. Osinowo, Dr. Osinowo, I beg your pardon. Thank you very much for joining us. We'd like you to speak on the situation regarding Mr. Ganduje, and it seems like it's been suspension upon suspension. We saw the initial one, and the APC leader coming out to say that the people who suspended him were not a part of the party, and asking the Inspector General of Police, the AIG, I beg your pardon, to investigate these people. Now we're seeing another suspension. How well do you think he's going to be able to fare through all of these?
And good morning, and good morning, viewers. It's absolutely unfortunate for us to witness a few intra-party issues when we have a lot of things facing our government in terms of developmental strike. For instance, power, for instance, security, and the president is working so hard to ensure that, Nigerians are benefiting from his open agenda. Virtually, I actually don't want to talk about politics because everybody in the party, including Dr. Ganduje, should know that, this is how party runs. He has been a former deputy governor. He has been a governor. And of course, the elements, those guys who feels that, they are suspending him, he knows all of them, they knows him. So before he became the national chairman, they are member of the same local government, the same ward. So they've known themselves for virtually, over 20, 25 years. So we don't want, in APC, in policy group, I just came back from London, we are working extremely so hard to ensure that Nigerian benefits from Osaroge's, President Bola Tinubu's government. So we have a limited contributions when it comes to, intra-party, dispute. However, I can just say, few things that, that is patterned to our constitution. APC constitution is very clear. When a chairman left from Southeast, for instance, the next chairman who is going to come, once the chairman resigns properly, barrier, the zone that the former chairman, comes from has to replace him. That's what APC constitution says. I'm a founding member of the APC, so I know how it works. The issue of the legality between, who are these guys? Are they the original, member of APC? Are they not from Ganduje world? These are subject to, litigation, which I actually don't want to, as a scholar, might not really be able to make, few comments on legal issue that is still pending in court. Dr. Ganduje needs to meet them in court and flog it out. They've gotten he's a seasoned politician. He's a former governor, so he knows what to do. I expect him, to ensure that most of his, pending his litigation in court issue, do what will make Nigeria proud of this government. We are strictly focusing on governance right now. No time for politics. We are busy. We want Nigeria to have 24-hour power supply. We want them to sleep with their two eyes closed. We want foreign direct investment. We want to go into the money market to make sure Nigeria is benefiting from this leadership. And that's what, we're really, really concerned about at this point.
Yeah, would you then say that, if Ganduje and his travels continue to be a distraction, to what the APC is trying to achieve, then he might as well, completely just step aside as APC chairman and focus on these challenges, and instead of distracting the Bola Tinubu government?
Number one, you would notice that we are not distracted. If you look at what the Minister of Finance and CBN Governor recently, are doing, and other, senior government officials are doing, trying to attract investment, getting a good, funding for Nigerian government for us to, invest in power, particularly power, to invest in security, to invest in, major capital projects. So what is actually happening within Kano State is just a drop in an ocean. So it doesn't really take a center, stage of what we are doing at this point in time. Yeah. Don't forget that the primary is coming up in 2026, not 2027. So we have a limited time to work with Nigeria to assure them that their votes are not, a wasted vote. So we're so particular about the development and questions that, on what we're doing to better, the life of Nigerians. So yeah. Mr. Dr. Ganduje should sort himself out with his people, with his friends. Let me use that one.
You think that this doesn't have to do with, it doesn't destabilize the APC and things are running smoothly, and that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's time in office is going to be a focused one? I want to believe that that's what you're saying. However, there have been reports that Ganduje has said that a lot of what is going on is conspiracy happening because they want to ensure that they starve President Bola Ahmed Tinubu of votes at the incoming elections. I'd like to get your reaction to that. Votes in Kano, to be precise.
Again, you and I, we are Nigerians. We are not Cameroonians. We know the power that be in Kano. And I would like to advise our national chairman not to involve President Tinubu in Kano's politics. It should not link the president to politics that's going on. Again, this is not the time for the president to start campaigning, even for ahead of primary or the major general election. What the president, I believe from what I'm doing and what other government officials are doing, we are focusing on living a very sound, and robust lifestyle for Nigeria in all sectors, working tirelessly, making sure that strategic things are put in place ahead of primary. The president does not need removing chairman or chairman fighting, with his friends in his ward. The president does not need that. We have 36 states of the federation that the president needs to, take care of. So Kano is just one of them. However, if you actually want me to go into politics, the national chairman should convey, the national executive committee meeting. He has not conveyed one. He should do things differently. I'm a little bit restrained in talking about him. He should do things differently. We've seen chairman that, plethora of cases from, Adams Oshiomhole, how you You know, once you are removed from your ward, you have no legitimate to say you are a national chairman or you are not. You know, there are cases, there are settled cases, even with the Court of Appeal cases that I'm sure you guys are, are opportune to, use as a case study. Really, we don't really want to attach so much importance to it, to the travail that is going on in Kano.
So the APC does
Kano
not.
is very crucial.
All right. Now that you've clearly, expressed yourself in that regard, does the APC stand behind Ganduje, or the APC wants to be dissociated from the drama going on with him? The APC leadership.
Sorry, can you take that again?
I said, does the APC stand in support of Ganduje at this point? From what you are saying, it would seem that the APC leadership wants to be dissociated from what exactly is going on. Is that it?
No. I think my other friend there will come a long way. So I'm not the spokesperson for APC. I'm a member. The spokesperson is my dear brother, barrister. I forgot his name now, but I'm not a spokesperson. I'm basically, basically interested in talking about what this government is doing for Nigerians, you and I, how things is going to get better. Things is not easy. We just remove subsidy. What I would say is that Dr. Ganduje, he should try. Let me just advise him. He should try and sort himself out.
All right, Mr. Osinowo.
Don't forget that the last election we lost. I'm coming, please. Last election we lost 27 House of Reps. We lost 2 senators. We lost the governorship. We lost 48 House of Assembly to somebody. I don't want to promote anybody's name. To somebody. So we have a lot to do in Kano. What are we doing? What's APC doing for Kano people to win them back? The present governor, Governor Haba, has his leader. His leader is there.
Yeah.
So what we should expect Dr. Ganduje to do is to develop a strategic, mode of developing or imparting on people's life in Kano, and try and settle his family affairs with his people.
Well, he had a chance. He had enough time to develop Kano State, or to at least get them on his side when he was governor. So if he didn't do it then, I'm not sure what the expectations are of him now to do it in 2024. But I want you to speak a little bit more on these things that you talk about. How the government is very passionate about setting Nigeria on the right path and fixing Nigeria. In different aspects. I saw statistics that was posted by the cable where Nigeria has dropped 4th in GDPs or largest economies in Africa in 2024. We're now behind Algeria, Egypt, and South Africa. This, maybe doesn't tell a good picture of where we are economically. But what would your reaction be to that? And then, does the president have targets that he is given to his ministers, the people that he's appointed? Does he have, targets that he's set, with them?
Absolutely. We have my dear sister Aisha, in terms of evaluation and monitoring of all cabinet members, and she has been working assiduously to ensure that the performance indices are well tabled. However, you mentioned something about a country right now, I forgot the country's name, that their GDP is, higher than Nigeria. Nigeria is at the back corner. You have to, when you're doing data analysis, especially economy analysis, you have to measure the growth. Number one, what I mean by growth is that you have to measure the population of each country. If you imagine all these countries you just mention together, their population size, they are no more than, for instance, let's use Kano State. Even the land size, the investment portfolio. Nigeria, we're talking about an economy of almost about 270 million people. So Nigeria is a big and multi-versatile country. So to measure them, you have to look for another country that has those indices, those taxes that will match them. For instance, people, just put themselves in one room or the other and come out data, measuring GDP.
No, it's a measurement of the economies, of the largest economies on the continent. Population size, might be a different conversation entirely. It's what your economy is doing, how well your economy is doing, that we're talking about here.
If you want to talk about, size is very, very crucial in economic management. For instance, who are the people that contribute to the economy? Who are the people? Majority of the people that contribute to the growth of the economy are human beings. Who will create innovations? Who will create, businesses? Who will create, other mechanisms that will propel the economy to thrive. For instance, Nigeria, we have one of the best, industrial hub in Aba, who are majorly some of their products, if they have the access to go outside the country, of course, that's going to give us a lot. Look at what Oyema is doing in earpiece. If you measure the portfolio of revenue that has come into this country for just 2 months on Harwich route to London alone, it's huge. For instance, Virgin, BA are crying wolf. Most of the prices are down. Some of them are changing their prices to naira.
That's a private business. Unfortunately, we need to go.
Those are the people that propel the economy. You're not going to bring anybody. Private businesses, private sector.
Yeah, but your argument initially was with regards to the size of those countries and how some of them are the size of Kano. So if we have a population that is 10 times these countries and we are still 4th behind these countries with a much smaller population than we are, then what exactly is your argument with regards population size? Because we are still 4th.
My argument is that let me make that very simple for all of us to understand. When we are measuring, Gabon and Nigeria, that I don't know the people you are talking about. When you are looking at data analysis of an economic growth, you have to take exception to some, set of people who form name and come out with, regional politics of measuring the economy. Some people will just come. Are they credible? For instance, you have to check those agencies you are mentioning. That who are these people? What is their credentials? How many, economic, indices have they given to other countries like World Bank, IMF, International Financial Corporation? Who are these people?
It's the IMF, actually.
I'm asking you because I would have asked who are these people you are talking about, because I've never heard of them.
It is the IMF I'm speaking of.
Congo is bigger than Nigeria.
It's the IMF I'm speaking about.
All right. We unfortunately, we've run out of time for this conversation, unfortunately, because we are coming to the end of the show. But Dr. Osinowo, please give us your word that when we call you again, you will come back so we can complete the conversation.
No, he's my friend. He's my friend there. I'm sorry, I've been in and out of the country. I'm sorry. I'm a member of this.
All right.
In Nigeria.
We certainly would like to have you join us if possible.
Anytime you want to bring me, I need the time. I need more time.
All right.
So the reason I'm just a little bit backward is because of the time that you always allotted to me.
All right.
I'm very small.
Thank you very much for your time with us. I look forward to having you again. All right.
Thank you so much. Nice having you guys.
Thank you.
Have a great week.
We are going to be bringing you Which Way Nigeria, where we're going to be having very key conversation as well right now.
Welcome once again. Now, over the weekend, a story broke, a very sad story, I must say, about a man who suffered a pretty serious health crisis while on the Ilorin-Ogbonmwan Expressway. We, of course, have cut out his image from this tweet, but of course, this was out of respect for his privacy and also that of his family. But that was the very first message that was put out seeking help. The ex-user who shared the video did so in order to seek help for this stranger who was at a very critical time and needed immediate medical attention. She continued, of course, to share updates on X, formerly called Twitter, while, of course, still waiting for someone to either show up or for some miracle. She continued seeking help, even going as far as taking an Okada, as she said there, to get an ambulance anywhere close to where this was happening. And then maybe after 1 or 2 hours, she announced that the Federal Road Safety Commission officials had arrived. The story continued the next day, which of course was Sunday, which was where she sadly stated that unfortunately the man had passed. Also stating that failure to get immediate or at least quick enough medical attention definitely contributed to his death. So I'll first of all say my condolences to his family, and I pray that they find comfort from God. Now, some of them, or some people would argue that this is just another example of a person that Nigeria happened to. And if you wonder, what does Osarogie mean by Nigeria happened to a person? It's simply any situation where the realities of Nigeria as a country come into play in a person's life, sometimes negatively. For example, having a medical emergency and having zero healthcare infrastructure that will provide quick care to the affected person. Or another very common one is driving yourself and your family on your way back from church on Sunday and losing your wife to the bullet of a trigger-happy policeman. Or even driving home after a long day of work and getting unexpectedly crushed by a container that fell off the truck right next to you in traffic. These are examples of what it means when people say, oh, Nigeria happened to you. And it's a great time to ask you this morning, what would you do? Or what do you think would happen if you, as we would always say, God forbid, have some health emergency along the expressway somewhere across the country? What do you think your chances are of survival? Will you be able to call the police on Nigeria's police hotlines and expect a team to be with you in 30 minutes or 1 hour? Will you be able to call for an ambulance and it will be there in an hour? Will you be airlifted to the nearest hospital by our fantastic air ambulances? Can you even bet that before the ambulance arrives, the FRSC official or policemen who are first on the scene will be able to administer CPR or any other life-saving procedure? I'm raising these questions as a very serious reminder to everyone watching us this morning that the demands that we should have of our government, whoever is in power, should never be belittled or trivialized. It's a reminder that Nigerian politicians continue to give citizens the barest minimum levels of development. In fact, they give nothing at all if they could. And it should be unacceptable. We should always and always demand better from these people who lead us in every level of governance, from the federal to the state to the local government level. And also to remind you that while you battle each other along tribal, religious, and political lines, while you choose to support a candidate because, they are simply from your tribe, when you become a tribal bigot in your 30s, simply because of elections, at any time that, we say again, God forbid, you find yourself in need of health care, infrastructure, security, that governance, and these simple things that governance should provide, your tribal political leanings wouldn't save you. The man whose story I started with, nobody knows what political party he supports, because in that moment it didn't matter. What mattered in that moment was the glaring lack of a system that should have saved his life and the type of governance that should have provided such, a system. And that should always and always be the core of our interest when we discuss politics and governance, not tribe, not religion, nothing else, but the improvement of our societies by those who run for office. So every single day, when we have these battles amongst ourselves, and run across tribal or religious lines or whatever it is, let us be reminded that if once again, God forbid, you have a health emergency on traffic anywhere in Nigeria, in Kano, in Lagos, in Benin, in Bayelsa, if you have a health emergency, what your reality is that nobody is coming to save you. If we are being honest, nobody is coming to save you. And so when you have these discussions, your voting discussions or political discussions, ignore tribe, ignore religion, and let us continue to focus on what is important, the demand for a better country. Good morning, Nigerians.
And that is our bulletin for today, our final show, or our final segment for the show today. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back again same time tomorrow, and hope that you can go back and think on these things that have been said and share your thoughts on social media as well. I am Emodi.
And I am Osarogie Ogbonmwan. See you tomorrow.